Hey, before we get to this week's episode of How to Do Everything, we want to tell you about the NPR One app. It says here, use it to listen to Name of Show.
I don't think that's an NPR podcast.
I loved, if you haven't heard the most recent episode of Name of Show, they interviewed a person about a topic. And
is that right?
It was an interview. I've never heard anything unlike it.
Did you have a reaction?
I did.
NPR One is a great way to find tons of new shows and stories. They've got hand-curated podcasts ready whenever you are. Find them on NPR One. It's in your app store now.
And for more information about Name of Show, just go to website.internet/thingafter/. Subsistence farmers in Africa have a big problem. Lions keep hunting their cows.
Now, this is terrible news for the farmers. They're losing their cows. It's bad news for the cows. They're getting eaten. But it's also really bad news for the lions because then the farmers end up killing the lions to defend their cows. Joining us now via Skype is Dr. Neil Jordan. He's a conservation biologist, and he's come up with an idea to help all three.
The idea is based on the fact that lions are ambush predators. So that means they rely on the element of surprise to creep up on their prey. Once they've been seen, they tend to give up on the hunt. So they're very much into surprise. So the idea is to try and interrupt that mechanism by painting eyes on the backs of cows and to try to fool the lions into thinking they've been seen and give up on the hunt. And so, reduce the losses of cows and also the retaliatory killings of lions as a result.
So Neil, if I saw one of these cows, what would it look like? What would I see?
Well, it looks like a normal cow from the front and from the side because that's what it is. But from the rear, we've got I've stamped on these contrasting eye patterns. They're actually based on the shape of predator's eyes. So there's one eye either side of the tail painted in either yellow or black, and they look pretty odd, actually. They look pretty big. The tail somehow looks a little bit like the nose, but the idea is just to get the eyes on there to interrupt that behavior.
Have you seen any lions react to the cows with the extra eyes?
Unfortunately, not yet. We have some data on their predation preferences based on the eye patterns, but we've not yet seen any interactions directly. Our preliminary data suggests that they are avoiding predating cows with these eye patterns on their behinds. So the unpainted cows in the herd are much more likely to be predated than the painted cows. In fact, we haven't had any painted cows taken yet, but we only have a very small sample size to date, so we're just extending the study now. In
terms of keeping your researchers and I guess also the farmers safe, have you thought about painting eyes on the backs of the humans out there?
That's an interesting question. I do often when I walk back to my tent with my torch late at night, I do think that now I've come up with this idea. It would be terrible to be ambushed by a lion, and you'd become a bit of a laughingstock, I think. So yes, I have considered it myself, and we're thinking about actually making some T-shirts with eyes on the back, just to to potentially raise some more money for the project, but B, just to avoid that risk. But we still don't know whether the technique works or not. So better to be safe than sorry.
It's so interesting because you think about animals and insects that have patterns that mimic eyes to ward off predators, like butterflies or moths will have an eye print on their wings, and you're kind of intervening where evolution fell short. It didn't happen that cows evolved to have eyes back there, and you're kind of taking the initiative.
Yeah, absolutely. So this is a very managed landscape. So we're not messing around with natural prey. So I feel comfortable with intervening in those in that context. But you're right, evolution has potentially fallen short there with cows. The domestic livestock have very few very few existing defenses against predation by lions and other large carnivores. So yeah, there's certainly a need to intervene if we want to keep livestock safe, and I think we do need to do that if we're interested in preserving a future for lions and other large carnivores.
Well, Neil, thank you so much for telling us about this.
Yeah, thank you very much for your interest. It's a pleasure for me. Thank you.
Okay, we would like now to return to our coverage of the Summer Olympics in Rio. We are no longer allowed to play the entire Olympic theme, but I feel like we can get away with this.
If you've been listening to our show, you know that we are dedicating our coverage of the Olympics to one sport and one sport only, and that's the javelin.
Brian Clay won a gold medal for the United States in the Beijing Olympics. He's a decathlete, and one of the decathlon events is javelin. But he has also found another use for it.
Yeah, so, my daughter had a loose tooth, and for a while, my wife had kind of come up with this idea, like, why don't you tie a string to it and throw a javelin and take it out, and I kind of wouldn't do it for the first two kids, and I finally just said, okay, fine, after my daughter, was begging me to do it. And so I said, okay, fine. So we literally were in the car on our way home. I flipped around, went down to the school, and I took my key, opened up the shed, grabbed my javelin out, and we threw the javelin tied to her tooth, and out it came.
Wow. Did you do your full run-up?
No, it was just a kind of a fun thing. I did more of a standing throw.
And so I'm trying to picture this. You're standing there with a javelin tied to your daughter's mouth, and what is she doing?
She's actually egging it on. Like, she wanted to do it. So
yeah.
I think, there was a bit of excitement there because it was going to be really fun, but then I think at the same time it was a little bit nerve-wracking because she wasn't quite sure if it was going to hurt or, if it was going to be okay. But she was sold out, man. She knew what she wanted to do, and she was sold out to getting it done.
Is she there now?
Yeah, she is. She's right here. Do you guys want to talk to her?
Yeah, for sure.
Okay, I'll give you 1 second.
Hi, this is Ellie.
Hey, Ellie, how's it going?
Good.
Well, tell us what it was like having your tooth pulled with a javelin.
It was sort of weird because I didn't really know if it was going to hurt or not.
Yeah.
Did it hurt?
No.
What did it feel like?
It sort of just felt like a little tug.
Yeah.
Mhm.
And could you see your tooth fly out of your mouth?
No.
You couldn't see it?
No.
I bet it was a world record, though, for the longest flight of a tooth being pulled out of a mouth.
I don't know. Maybe.
Have you had your teeth pulled out in other ways?
Yeah. Sometimes my dad just tugs them out.
Uh-huh.
Mm-hmm. No shot put or discus or pole vaulting out of your mouth, nothing like that?
No.
Right.
I have a son, Ellie, who's 7, and he has a loose tooth right now. Do you recommend tying his tooth to a javelin?
I don't know.
Yeah? Do you have any friends who would do that, you think?
Probably not.
Now's the part of our show where we like to tell you about our sponsors. This week, it's Blink.
Blink is the author of the hit book Malcolm Gladwell.
Blink, in fact, helps homeowners and renters keep an eye on what's happening at home while they're away. Blink's battery-powered high-definition video cameras use motion sensors to deliver instant video alerts right to your smartphone.
Or check in anytime with Live View. Cameras can be placed almost anywhere in your home, and installation is super easy too.
Learn more at blinkforhome.com. Get 10% off your order with the promo code BLINKNPR. Well, that does it for this week's show. What we learned today, Mike?
Well, I learned that one way they're keeping cows safe from lion attacks is by painting eyes on their butts.
I bet there's often a situation at cow parties nowadays where you end up talking to somebody for 20 minutes before you realize you've been talking to their butt. You've been telling maybe like your best anecdote, and the person is just saying nothing.
I mean, you should figure, if their face has a tail, that's the first signal that you're talking to somebody's butt.
How to Do Everything is produced by Nadia Wilson with technical direction from Lorna White.
Our intern this week is Elliot. Elliot, thanks for all the great work you did stuffing all those animals for us.
We're proud of you, and I think you made a lot of people happy and a lot of animals uncomfortable.
And you taxidermied Lorna.
Our artist in residence is Justin Whitty.
You can get us your questions. Send them to us at howto@npr.org.
Our website is howtodoeverything.org. I'm Ian.
And I'm Mike.
Thanks.
We have finally finished this week's episode.
That nightmare has ended, but you're still asleep. So we suggest you listen to NPR's new Politics podcast. That's where NPR's political reporters talk to you like they talk to each other.
It's just a stream of curse words.
With weekly roundups, short takes on news, and reporting from the campaign trail, you don't have to keep up with politics to know what's happening this election year. You just have to keep up with NPR's Politics podcast.
Listen and subscribe on the NPR One app and at npr.org/podcasts.